My name is Reese Calloway. I'm 34 years old, and on the night of March 8th, I was standing in my kitchen eating leftover pasta when my coworker Jade sent me a text that stopped my fork midair. Hey, did you see your family's Facebook? Your mom just posted something. I opened the app. There it was, a full photo album, 63 pictures. My mother, Patricia Calloway, standing in a floor-length burgundy gown inside the Grand Meridian Hotel ballroom. Crystal chandeliers, floral centerpieces taller than a man, a champagne tower, a custom cake decorated with edible gold leaf and the words, "Happy 30th, Nadia, our shining star." My sister Nadia's 30th birthday party on March 8th, my 34th birthday. Same date, same family, one party, one name. And I found out through Facebook, not a phone call, not even a text. Facebook, like a stranger looking through a window at a family that doesn't know she exists. I scrolled through every single photo. My mother beaming, my father Raymond with his arm around Nadia, my aunts, my cousins, my childhood neighbors. Every person who has ever sat at our Thanksgiving table was in that ballroom. Nobody called me. Nobody texted me. Not one person said, "Happy birthday, Reese." I set my fork down, looked at the cold pasta, looked back at the phone, and I made a decision that would change everything. Before I take you back to that night, I need you to understand something about my family. I am the eldest daughter of Raymond and Patricia Calloway, born 1991 in Columbus, Ohio. Nadia came 4 years later, in 1995. Same birthday, March 8th. Different years, different people, same 24 hours. You'd think two sisters sharing a birthday would mean double the celebration. You'd be exactly wrong. Every year growing up, the party was technically ours, but the theme was always Nadia's. The cake flavor was always Nadia's choice. The legacist skewed toward Nadia's friends because Nadia had more of them, louder ones, the kind who screamed and ran and made a party feel like a party. I was the quiet one, the bookish one, the one who sat near the punch bowl and talked to the adults. Reese doesn't need much, my mother used to say. She meant it as a compliment. It never felt like one. When I turned 12, I asked for a mystery-themed scavenger hunt. I'd planned the whole thing in my notebook, clues hidden around the house, a prize at the end, detective badges for everyone. My mother looked at my notebook, then looked at Nadia, who wanted a spa party with face masks and nail polish. "We'll do your theme next year, baby." Next year never came. I spent my 12th birthday with cucumber slices on my eyes while Nadia and her friends painted each other's nails, and my mother took 40 pictures. When I turned 18, I asked for one adult thing, a nice dinner, just our family at the steakhouse downtown. I'd been dreaming about that birthday for 2 years, finally being treated like a grown woman at the family table. Nadia was turning 14. She wanted a sleepover with 10 girls and a karaoke machine. My mother didn't even deliberate. "Nadia's only young once, Reese. We can do dinner anytime." I ate birthday cake at midnight, surrounded by 14-year-olds singing off-key to pop songs while my mother cheered with a glow stick around her neck. When I turned 21, I suggested we split the day. Morning for me, evening for Nadia. Easy, fair, simple. My mother sighed the way she always sighs when I suggest something reasonable, like the reasonableness itself is the inconvenience. "I can't run two events, Reese. I'm one person." So we did Nadia's Sweet 16. A hired DJ, 50 teenagers, a dress code. My mother rented a community center and spent 3 weeks planning the playlist. I sat in the corner in a dress I'd bought myself and drove home before the cake was cut. Here is what I want you to understand before I go any further. I never made a scene. I never threw a fit. I never once looked at my little sister and blamed her for any of it. Nadia didn't design this system, my mother did. And I spent 22 years believing that if I was just patient enough, just quiet enough, just good enough. My mother would eventually look at me and see that I was still there. She didn't. And on March 8th of this year, I found out through a Facebook album.
Here's where I need you to hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, because what you're about to hear is the kind of story that you're going to want to share with someone you know. And drop your location in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from. I read every single one. Now, let's get back to it, because the night is just beginning. I need to tell you who I am right now, not who my mother thinks I am, who I actually am. I'm a registered nurse, 12 years in. I work the overnight shift at Mercy General 3 nights a week, and I spend my days off teaching CPR certification classes to high school kids. I own my apartment, a 2-bedroom on the 4th floor with a balcony where I grow tomatoes in the summer. I paid off my student loans 2 years ago. I did it on my own. No help, no co-signers, no bailouts. Nobody in my family threw me a party for any of that. Nadia is 29. She works in event planning, or she says she does. I'll come back to that. She lives in an apartment my mother found, furnished and stocked. She drives a car my father leased in his name. When she had a financial situation last spring, I later found out it was a credit card balance of over $8,000, my mother covered it without hesitation, without a conversation, without a single condition. I found out about that bailout the same way I found out about the party, through someone else. My mother calls me every Sunday. The call runs about 15 minutes. 14 of those minutes are about Nadia, what Nadia's doing, who Nadia's seeing, what Nadia said that was so funny at dinner on Friday. The 15th minute is my mother saying, "Well, I should let you get some rest. You must be exhausted from those shifts." The last time my mother asked me a direct question about my life, not as a setup for a Nadia story, but about me specifically, was 6 months ago. The question was, "Can you look over Nadia's lease renewal? You're good with paperwork." That's it. That's the relationship. My mother doesn't dislike me, I know that. You don't dislike a person you never think about. She just simply doesn't think about me. I exist on the outer edge of her world, not in the orbit, not even really in the solar system, just somewhere out there past the last ring where the quiet planets go. That's the part that takes the longest to explain to people who haven't lived it. Being invisible doesn't hurt the same way as being hated. It's quieter than that. It's the silence where your name should be, the blank line on an invitation, the album of 63 photos where your face doesn't appear once. That's what I was staring at on my birthday, my own birthday, standing alone in my kitchen. I put down my phone and called my mother. She picked up on the third ring. Her voice was warm and distracted, the way it gets when she's post-event and floating. "Reese, hi, baby. I was just—" "Mom, I saw the Facebook post." A pause. 1 second. 2. "Oh, wasn't it beautiful? The florist did an absolutely incredible job with the—" It was my birthday, too. The warmth drained out of her voice like water from a bathtub. "Reese, my name wasn't on anything. Not the post, not the photos, not the caption. You celebrated March 8th for 34 years, and my name doesn't appear once. This was Nadia's 30th, Reese. That's a milestone. My 34th isn't a milestone? You know what I mean." "No, Mom, I genuinely don't. Tell me what you mean." Another pause. Longer this time. I could hear her recalibrating, choosing her angle. My mother is not a cruel woman. She's a strategic one. There's a difference. Cruelty requires intention. Strategy just requires habit. We can't do everything for everyone. You understand that. You spent $12,000 on that venue. I heard it in a phone call with my cousin Bex 2 days later, but I said it now because I'd seen the Grand Meridian's event pricing on their website in the 30 minutes between putting down my fork and dialing this number. Silence. "That's not your business, Reese. The Grand Meridian starts at $12,000 for the ballroom. That's on their website. You spent $12,000 celebrating one daughter on a day that belongs to both of us. And you didn't call me. You didn't text me. I found out on Facebook." Her voice went tight. That precise, clipped tightness that means she's moved from strategy into defense. I don't have to justify how we celebrate our children. Both of them, Mom. You have two. Nadia needed this right now. She's been going through a lot. And I've been going through shifts and loan payments and 12 years of showing up. But go ahead. You're being dramatic. There it is, the word, the one she keeps in her back pocket for exactly these moments. Dramatic. As if noticing that you've been erased is a character flaw. Am I? Tell me one birthday that was mine. Just one. One year where the theme was mine, the guest list was mine, the cake flavor was something I chose. Just one, Mom. Nothing. She had nothing. I'm not doing this tonight. She hung up. I stood in my kitchen holding a dead phone. The pasta on the counter had gone completely cold. The Facebook album was still open on my screen. My mother, in her burgundy gown, glowing, arm around Nadia. The caption, 30 years of magic. Happy birthday to our shining star. I am also 34 years old today. I also grew inside the same woman. I also called her mom every single day of my life. Our shining star. Singular. I closed the app and I started planning. The next morning, my cousin Bex called before I'd finished my first cup of coffee. Reese, I need to tell you something and I need you to not shoot the messenger. Bex is 26, sharp as a tack, and constitutionally incapable of holding information she thinks you deserve to know. Your mom told everyone at the party you couldn't make it because you had a double shift last night. She said you were devastated to miss it. She said you called Nadia in the afternoon to wish her happy birthday. I set down my mug. I didn't call Nadia. I know. I didn't call anyone. Reese, she built a whole story. She told Aunt Carol you cried on the phone because you felt so bad about missing it. I walked to my kitchen window and looked out at the parking lot below. A man was scraping frost off a windshield. The sky was the pale gray of early March. My mother didn't just exclude me from the party. She invented a version of me who chose not to come. A cooperative Reese, a grateful Reese, a Reese who called ahead, sent her love, and understood completely. A Reese who created zero discomfort, asked zero questions, and dissolved quietly into the background so the evening could proceed without an awkward empty seat. If I stay quiet now, that version becomes permanent. Every aunt at that party walks away with the story of Reese who worked her shift and sent her blessings. A woman who simply isn't a party person. The independent one, the low-maintenance one, the one who doesn't need this stuff. Not the woman who wasn't invited, the woman who didn't come. Bex, she's not just leaving me out, she's replacing me. Bex didn't argue. She just said, "What are you going to do?" I looked at my calendar on the refrigerator, March 8th, still today, circled in red pen. I'd drawn that circle in January. Every year, I draw that circle. I'm not going to let her tell my story. I tried Nadia first, just a text. Hey, can we talk? She read it at 11 in the morning. No response until 4 in the afternoon. Mom said you were working. It's fine. It's fine. Like I'm apologizing for a scheduling conflict. Like the issue is a shift overlap, not the fact that my name didn't appear once in a 63-photo birthday album posted publicly to our family's Facebook. I called my father, Raymond Calloway, 63 years old, retired engineer, champion of the tactical non-answer. Your mother planned the whole thing, sweetheart. I just showed up. Dad, my name wasn't on anything. I know. Did you think about that at all while you were standing there? A long pause. The Raymond Calloway special. The pause that buys him time to choose between honesty and peace, and always, always chooses peace. I thought about you, but you didn't say anything. Just don't make this into something bigger than it is. Something bigger than it is. 34 years, 63 photos, 0 mentions, $12,000. Good night, Dad. That night, Nadia sent one final text. Also, Mom said to save you a piece of cake. She put it in the freezer. You can pick it up whenever.
I stared at that message for a very long time. A frozen slice of cake from a $12,000 party thrown on my birthday that I wasn't invited to. She'll save me a slice. I sat on the edge of my bed in the dark and I made myself say it out loud to the empty room. I'm done waiting. This is the part of the story where everything changes. And if you're watching this right now because someone sent it to you, I need you to subscribe before you go any further, because what happens next is what this whole story has been building toward. Stay with me. Saturday morning, coffee, notebook, a brand new page. For the first time in 34 years, I planned my own birthday party. I called Rosewood & Co., a restaurant downtown with exposed timber walls and candles on every table, the kind of place where the menu changes with the season and the host remembers your coat size. I booked the private dining room for 20 guests on March 22nd, 2 weeks after the Grand Meridian Ballroom, 2 weeks after the frozen cake. Then I opened my notebook and wrote names. Jade, my coworker and the person who texted me about the Facebook post. She'd also stayed 2 extra hours last November to cover my patients when I got a migraine. She didn't tell a soul. Marcus, my best friend since nursing school. He sends me a voice memo on my birthday every single year. Not a text, a voice memo. 60 seconds of him singing off key and telling me one thing he's proud of me for. He's done it 11 years running. Dr. Priya Okonkwo, my former supervisor who wrote my letter of recommendation for my advanced certification and cried at my pinning ceremony harder than my own mother did. Bex and her girlfriend Tam, my cousins Jordan and Deshawn, who've always treated me like I matter, my neighbor Gail, 71 years old, retired librarian, who leaves mystery novels outside my door when she thinks I seem stressed. I wrote 12 names, left 8 lines blank. I stared at those blank lines. Here's what I learned about planning your own birthday party at 34. You realize how completely you've surrendered the question of what you actually want. I don't know my own cake flavor. I've never chosen the music. I've never picked the restaurant for myself. For 34 years, I've been a guest at my own birthday. Not anymore. At midnight, I was still awake. I picked a color scheme, deep green and gold. I picked a playlist of songs I actually love. I ordered myself flowers, burgundy dahlias, the kind I'd been wanting for 3 years but never bought. I wrote my own menu preferences down like they were sacred text. Roasted garlic chicken, wild mushroom risotto, dark chocolate lava cake with sea salt. Not a single item Nadia would have chosen. Every single item I've wanted for years. I left 4 lines blank on the guest list. Something told me the universe was about to fill them for me. 2 weeks passed. Then a message request appeared in my Instagram inbox. The profile was a woman with warm brown eyes and natural hair pulled back in a loose bun. Her name was Simone Archer. She had 200 followers, no aesthetic theme, just a regular person's account. Brunch photos, a dog, sunsets. Hi, Reese. You don't know me well, but I was Nadia's event partner for 3 years. I say was because she dissolved our business arrangements 6 months ago and took 2 of our major clients with her, claiming they were hers alone. I saw what happened with your birthday. I know what it feels like to be written out of Nadia's story. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. I read it 3 times. Simone Archer. The name surfaced slowly from my memory. I'd heard it once, 2 years ago, at a Sunday dinner. My mother mentioned that Nadia had found a business partner for her event planning work, a woman who had corporate contacts, a van, and equipment. I remember thinking that Nadia had finally done something impressive on her own. I never heard the name again. 3 months ago, my mother started referring to Nadia's independent event planning business at every opportunity. Nadia did this solo. Nadia built this herself. Nadia is so entrepreneurial. I didn't ask questions. I was too used to the pattern. Except Nadia's headline, "Don't dig into the footnotes." But now the footnote was sitting in my inbox. She didn't say dropped or ghosted. She said written out. The same language I used with Bex on the phone. The same feeling of being converted into a blank space where a person used to stand. I didn't reply yet. I closed the app and stared at the ceiling fan. My blank guest list had 4 empty spots. I had a feeling one of them was about to get filled. The second crack showed up on a Tuesday in the parking lot of my gym. I ran into Dara Mitchell, who I'd known since high school, who now runs the social media accounts for three local small businesses. We did the usual quick hug, quick update. How's Nadia? She's still doing the event thing? Still at it, I said. She had a really big corporate gig last month, apparently. Dara tilted her head. Huh, that's interesting. My client was looking for an event coordinator for their holiday party, and someone recommended Nadia. We reached out twice. She never responded. I kept my face neutral. Maybe she was just booked. Maybe. But my client also mentioned she'd seen Nadia's business page, and the last posted event was from almost 7 months ago. Nothing since. 7 months ago. Nadia's independent business, the one my mother references like it's a Fortune 500 company, hadn't publicly posted a single event in 7 months. I nodded like it was nothing. We hugged goodbye. I sat in my car for 5 minutes with both hands on the steering wheel. My mother spent $12,000 celebrating a business that might not be generating any business. I drove home without turning on the radio. On Friday, I messaged Simone back. Let's get coffee. We met at a cafe on the east side of town, far enough from our neighborhood that no one would recognize us and report back to my mother's information network. Because, make no mistake, Patricia Calloway has an information network. She always knows what she's not supposed to know. I've never figured out how until now. I'm starting to think it's because everyone tells her what she wants to hear. Simone Archer arrived first. She was wearing a gray blazer and had the posture of someone who'd spent months trying to decide whether they were allowed to be angry. She ordered green tea, wrapped both hands around the mug. Tell me what happened, I said. She exhaled. The long kind, the kind you do when you've been holding something for months and someone finally gives you permission to put it down. We started the business together. My equipment, my vendor contacts, my corporate relationships. Nadia had the personality. She's good at selling a vision, you know? She can walk into a room and make everyone believe something beautiful is about to happen. So we split it. She brought in clients. I ran logistics. She paused. 18 months in, she started introducing herself to clients as the sole owner. At first, I thought it was just shorthand, easier than explaining a partnership. But then she started redirecting client communication to a new email address, an address I didn't have access to. She was cutting you out, gradually. By the time I realized what was happening, 2 of our 3 anchor clients had her contact info only. When I confronted her, she told me I was being paranoid, that I was jealous of her talent. Sound familiar? She told my mother I was toxic, I said. Simone looked up. She told our mutual friends I was trying to steal from her, that I'd been taking a bigger share of the revenue than I was owed. She showed them a spreadsheet. Was it real? I'd never seen it before in my life. We sat with that for a moment. She didn't do it to be cruel, Simone said, quietly. I've thought about it a lot. She does it because she needs to be the main character in every story, every room, every relationship, every business. If someone starts to shine too close to her, she doesn't dim them gradually. She just rewrites the story so they were never in it. I felt something settle in my chest. That was also the most precise description of my childhood that I had ever heard. Your mother built that in her, Simone said. It wasn't unkind, just clear. I don't blame Nadia the way I used to, but it doesn't make what she did okay. I looked at my guest list. 3 blank spots. Would you come to my birthday party? I asked. She looked at me, a real look, not calculating, not cautious, just surprised. I'd be honored, she said. March 22nd. The private room at Rosewood & Co. looked nothing like the Grand Meridian Ballroom. No chandelier, no champagne tower, no edible gold leaf. Just a long table with dark green linen, burgundy dahlias in low glass vases, mismatched brass candlesticks, and a hand-lettered chalkboard near the door that said Reese's Table in looping white chalk. I stood at the entrance for a moment before anyone arrived and just looked at it. Mine. Every single detail of this room was something I chose. Jade arrived first, carrying a small wrapped gift and wearing her signature red lipstick even though it was a Saturday. Marcus came in right behind her,
already wearing one of the paper gold crowns he'd found at a party supply store. He bought 20 because everyone was getting one, Reese. That's non-negotiable. Dr. Priya Okonkwo came in her off-duty clothes, soft wide leg pants and hoop earrings, and she hugged me for a full 10 seconds before saying a word. Bex brought her girlfriend Tom and a bottle of expensive wine she'd been saving for the right occasion. Gail, from downstairs, arrived with a tin of homemade shortbread and a 1930s mystery novel she'd been hunting for 6 months because I'd mentioned it in passing once, and she'd remembered. She remembered. Jordan and Deshawn came together. Jordan had made a playlist on his phone, which he proudly displayed. Reese's Actual Favorites, a playlist that has nothing to do with Nadia. I laughed until my eyes watered. Then the door opened one more time. Simone Archer. She stepped in wearing a rust-colored dress and carrying a bottle of red wine. She scanned the room the way people do when they're not sure they'll be welcomed and are bracing the moment it goes wrong. I walked over and hugged her. She went still for half a second, then she hugged me back. Happy birthday, Reese. Thank you for being here. We settled around the table. The food came: roasted garlic chicken, wild mushroom risotto, exactly what I'd wanted. The wine flowed. The room got warm and loud, the way rooms do when the people inside them actually want to be there. And then Marcus stood up. He tapped his fork against his glass, put on his paper gold crown with the gravity of a man making a state address, and turned to face me. I've known this woman for 11 years. 11 years of birthday voice memos that I have on record as legal documentation of my devotion to her. The table laughed. In 11 years, I have watched Reese Calloway work double shifts to pay her own loans. I have watched her sit with dying patients and hold their hands through the hardest moments of their lives. I have watched her show up for everyone around her at 6 in the morning when the world is dark and cold and nobody's watching. His voice dropped a little. And I have watched her spend 34 birthdays in the background of someone else's party, smiling, adjusting, making room, making peace, never once asking anyone to see her. He raised his glass. Tonight, we see you, Reese, all the way, in the center of the frame. Happy birthday. 20 glasses lifted. The clink went around the table like a wave. I didn't cry. I decided before I came that I was not going to cry at my own birthday party. I almost held it. Almost. Then Dr. Priya stood up. I want to say something fast because the risotto is getting cold and I have priorities. Everyone laughed. 7 years ago, Reese was my charge nurse. I was a brand new attending physician and I was terrified. And I made an error in a medication protocol at 2 in the morning and Reese caught it before it reached the patient. The table went quiet. She didn't report me. She didn't embarrass me. She pulled me aside, showed me the error, helped me correct it, and then said, and I remember this exactly, she said, "Now you know. Go back in there." That's it. No speech, no lesson, just now you know. Go back in there. She looked at me directly. That's who you are. You don't make people feel small when they fail. You just help them get back up. The fact that nobody threw you a party until tonight is a crime I intend to spend the next 34 years correcting. 20 glasses raised, more applause. Story after story came after that. Small ones, quiet ones, the kind of things that never make it into a mother's toast because they don't come with a title or a salary figure. They're just evidence of a human being who shows up, consistently, quietly, without waiting for credit. And then Simone stood up. The room shifted, not nervously, attentively, the way you turn toward someone when you know the next thing they say is going to matter. Simone stood with both hands around her wine glass. She didn't have notes. She didn't clear her throat theatrically. She just started talking, and her voice was steady and clear as river water. I haven't known Reese very long. Technically, we've only had one cup of coffee, but sometimes you meet a person and you recognize them, not because you know their history, but because you know their shape. The shape of someone who was asked to be grateful for less, who was handed the edge of the table and said thank you, who watched someone else get celebrated and told herself that patience was a virtue. Every face at the table was completely still. I've lived a version of that story. I know what it costs. I know how quietly it chips away at you until you can't remember what you actually wanted before you started adjusting. She paused. Reese never asked me for anything. She just asked if I wanted a seat at the table, a real one, with my name on it. And that's the difference between the kind of person who builds things and the kind who just claims them. She raised her glass. To Reese Calloway, who finally stopped waiting for permission to take up space. 20 glasses, one clink, one room full of people who chose to be there. I need you to pause here for just a second, because I know some of you are watching this right now and you are Reese. You are the one who got the frozen slice of someone else's cake, and you deserve to hear what comes next. If this story is hitting close to home, subscribe right now and leave me a comment. Tell me, when did you stop adjusting and start choosing? I read every single word. Now, let's get to 2 a.m. The party ended at 10. I walked the last guests out, hugged everyone twice, and drove home with the leftover lava cake in a takeout container on my passenger seat. My apartment was quiet. I put the cake in the fridge, washed my face, and sat on the edge of my bed. I felt something I hadn't felt in a very long time. Full. Not from the food, from being witnessed. My phone buzzed at 11. Bex. Nadia just texted me. She saw Jordan's Instagram story. Simone's toast? Reese, she is spiraling. I opened Instagram. Jordan had posted a clip, the last 40 seconds of Simone's speech, the part about being asked to be grateful for less, about being handed the edge of the table, about the difference between building and claiming. It had 60 views. One of them was Nadia. She'd watched it twice. 11:30. Bex again. Your mom just called Nadia. Now Nadia's calling everyone asking what Simone said about her. 11:45. Nadia viewed Bex's story. A photo of the chalkboard. Reese's table. Nadia screenshots it. I can see the view count. Midnight. My mother's name on my phone. I let it go to voicemail. She doesn't leave one. 12:20. Nadia starts texting me. Rapid fire. No punctuation. Why is Simone at your party? What did she tell you? You don't know the full story, Reese. She's been trying to destroy me for months. Whatever she said is a lie. She stole from me first. Call me right now. I read every message, all of them. I set my phone face down on the nightstand. Outside my window, the city was doing its quiet midnight thing. A distant siren, someone's music a few floors up, the particular soft hum of a building full of people sleeping. I thought about my mother's Facebook caption, "Our shining star." I thought about Simone's toast, who finally stopped waiting for permission to take up space. At 2 a.m., my phone rang. Nadia Bishop Calloway. I picked up. How dare you? No hello, just that. Hot and breathless like she'd been rehearsing it. How dare you invite that woman? Do you know what she's saying about me? Do you know what she's trying to do? I kept my voice completely level. She didn't say your name, Nadia. Everyone knows it's about me. Grateful for less? Edge of the table? That's obviously about me. She's using your birthday to go after me. Or, I said, she was talking about her own experience, which was real, and which happened to sound familiar to a lot of people in that room. Silence. 4 seconds. I could hear her breathing, shallow and quick. You don't know what you're talking about. Then tell me the truth. Tell me about the business, Nadia. Tell me about Simone's equipment and her contacts, and the clients she brought in before you changed the email address. The silence this time was different. Longer, heavier. You're not getting the full, is the business still running? Nothing. When's the last event you planned? Still nothing. Nadia. And then her voice cracked, not with anger, with something underneath it, something raw and exhausted, the way people sound when the mask they've been wearing for 6 months finally slips. It's been really hard, Reese. I know. Mom doesn't know how bad it is. If she found out, she'd stop looking at you the way she does. A quiet intake of breath. She only has room for one version of you, the shining star.
and you've been destroying yourself and everyone around you to stay in the spotlight. Don't. I'm not saying it to hurt you. I'm saying it because it's the truest thing I've ever said to you. She cried then, not the performance cry, the real one, the kind that makes your voice go jagged. I didn't mean to hurt you with the party. I genuinely thought you were used to it. That one landed. That's the problem, Nadia. Everyone thought I was used to it, including you, and nobody stopped to ask whether used to it and okay with it were the same thing. She didn't have a response to that. Good night. I hung up, set the phone down softly, and I sat in the dark with the quiet satisfaction of having said every single true thing without raising my voice once. Sunday morning, my mother called. I picked up. I was done with voicemails, done with the slow bleed of avoidance. Reese, what happened last night? Lauren called me. Nadia, your sister is upset. That woman at your party? Said nothing untrue, Mom. Silence. She was implying things about. She gave a toast at my birthday party. A birthday party I threw for myself for the first time because in 34 years, nobody else threw me one. Quiet. That's not. Don't. Please don't tell me that's not fair. Don't tell me I'm being dramatic. Just, for once, hear what I'm saying. My mother didn't speak for a long moment. When she did, her voice was stripped of its usual executive certainty. Just a woman on a Sunday morning with her coffee, realizing she might have missed something. I always thought you were okay, Reese. I know you did. That's the problem. You saw me managing and you called it okay. But I was managing because the alternative was falling apart, and I couldn't do that in a family where only one of us got to need things. That's not how I. Tell me one thing about my life, Mom. Not my job, not my schedule. One thing about what I want, what I care about, what I've been working toward. Another long pause. And then, quietly, honestly, I don't know. Yeah, she exhaled. I didn't know you felt this way. I've said it before. You called it dramatic. The silence stretched between us, full of all the years it contained. I'm not calling to punish you, Dad. I never wanted that. I just needed you to show up, to see me. That's all it ever was. He nodded slowly. That wall out there in your hallway, the certificates. Did you build that shelf yourself? Took me 2 weekends. I didn't know you knew how to do that. There's a lot you don't know about me. He nodded again, slower. I'd like to change that. He finished his coffee. At the door, he turned back. That chalkboard in Jordan's photo, Reese's table. He said it quietly, like he was tasting the words. I should have been the one to write that a long time ago. He walked to his car. I closed the door, pressed my back against it for a moment. I didn't feel healed, but I felt something cracking open that had been sealed for a very long time. And cracked open is how the light gets in. The weeks that followed were quiet. Not dramatically quiet, just the ordinary quiet of a life no longer spent waiting for something that isn't coming. Nadia blocked me on everything: Instagram, Facebook, even LinkedIn, which, again, felt oddly corporate for a family falling apart. Bex kept me updated. The business conversation had finally made its way back to my mother in full. The clients, the email redirect, Simone's equipment, the spreadsheet Nadia claimed Simone had falsified. My mother didn't call to tell me, she just called less. When she did call, something was different. She asked questions, small ones at first. How are you sleeping? Is the overnight shift still working for you? What are you reading? Nothing profound, just present. Just my mother remembering that I exist during the hours she's not thinking about Nadia. It's a small thing, but it's real. And real is all I ever wanted. Simone and I had coffee 3 more times in April. Not about Nadia, not about the party, about normal things. Her new corporate client, my certification renewal, a restaurant we both wanted to try, the easy conversation of two people building something new instead of recovering from something old. One afternoon, she texted me, "You know what's strange? I spent 6 months wondering if I was the crazy one, whether I really was jealous, like Nadia said, whether I really had taken more than my share." "What changed?" I asked. "You. You listened without having a stake in the answer. Nobody had done that. People either believed Nadia immediately or they stayed quiet to keep the peace. You just asked me what happened, like the truth actually mattered." "It does matter." "I know that now," she said. "Took me 6 months and a birthday party." I smiled at my phone in the break room at Mercy General at 2 in the morning. The nursing station hummed softly. Monitors beeped in steady rhythm down the hall. The night shift doing its eternal work. I thought about what it means to spend your life showing up in the dark when no one's watching for people who need you. Thought about how that's the shape of my whole career. The shape, if I'm honest, of my whole life. And I thought, for the first time without bitterness, that maybe being the person who shows up in the dark is not a consolation prize. Maybe it's the whole point. Late April, Saturday morning, sun coming through my kitchen window in long, warm bars. I'm at my table with coffee and a book. The tomatoes on the balcony are 2 inches tall. Gail brought me a new mystery novel last week and left it outside my door at 7 a.m. with a post-it that said, "For when the nights get long." My phone buzzes. My mother. "Good morning, baby." "Morning, Mom. I was thinking about something you said about not knowing what you want, what you care about." I put down my book. "I want you to know, I asked Raymond last night, and he couldn't answer either, and that bothered me. We've been talking about how we got here." "Okay." "I don't have a good excuse, Reese. I don't. I could tell you that I was scared of losing Nadia because she's always needed more, and that's true, but it's not a reason to lose you. It's just what happened. And I'm sorry." I let the apology land. I didn't rush to accept it. 34 years doesn't dissolve in a Saturday morning phone call, no matter how sincere the voice on the other end. But I let it land, and I held it. "It doesn't fix everything," I said. "I know. But it's a start. Can I take you to dinner? Just us? Wherever you want." I thought about all the years of Italian restaurants I didn't pick, and playlists I didn't choose, and cake flavors I didn't request. "I know a place." "Tell me." "Rosewood & Co. They have a wild mushroom risotto." A pause. And then my mother laughed. Quietly, warmly, the way she laughs when something hits a nerve and a funny bone at the same time. "I'll make a reservation. Make it for 3. Invite Dad." "Done." She paused before hanging up. "I love you, Reese." She said my name, my full name, not honey or baby, not a postscript to a conversation about someone else. Just Reese. "I love you too, Mom." I looked at my wall calendar that evening. April, warm and green coming through the window. The tomatoes on the balcony growing a little more every day. March 8th was still circled in red, the circle I draw every January. Except this year, next to the circle, I'd written something new. Not my birthday/Nadia's birthday. Not shared. Just mine. Also Nadia's, but mine. I opened my phone and texted Simone. "Same table next March?" 3 minutes. Already putting it in my calendar. "Also, I have a speech idea. Make it longer this time." "Oh, it will be." I put my phone down, finished my coffee, watched the tomatoes in the last of the day's light. I don't know what happens with Nadia. She hasn't reached out. Maybe she will. Maybe she'll spend another 6 months building a new version of the story where she's the one who was wronged. Maybe someday she'll look in the mirror and recognize who she became and decide she wants to be someone different. I can't control that. I never could. What I can control is this: my table, my chair, my name on the chalkboard, my flowers, my menu, my music, my people. For 34 years, I stood at the edge of someone else's celebration and told myself that patience was the same as peace. It isn't. It never was. Peace is what I have right now, in this quiet apartment, with the tomatoes growing and the coffee warm and a phone full of people who chose to show up. I didn't blow up my family to get here. I didn't expose anyone or destroy anyone or burn anything to the ground. I just stopped holding it up, and everything that wasn't real fell on its own. The chair at the head of my own table, it fits perfectly. And that's my story. If you've ever been the person they forgot to invite, the one who got the frozen slice, the one standing at the edge of every photo, I want you to hear this. You don't need permission to celebrate yourself. You are allowed to build your own table. You are allowed to put your name on it, in chalk, in paint, in neon if you want. You don't have to wait for a toast that's never coming. Write your own. Subscribe if this story meant something to you. Share it with the person in your life who needed to hear it today. And leave me a comment with one word, just one, that describes how you felt listening to this. I'll be reading every single one.